Hello everyone, my name is Cornel Fătulescu. I'm Chief Platform Officer at Pentalog, meaning I'm in charge of products and technology aspects of our group. And I'm here to be the host of CTO Talk, a new session. Before joining and talking about the CTO Talk, I'm going to make a short introduction about who we are and why we have the CTO Talks. So Pentalog is essentially offering teams for our customers. We've been acquired by Globant, so we have moved from 8 countries to more than 30. There's literally no region in the world that we cannot serve anymore, no project that we cannot do, no product that we cannot build or help you build with our teams. And this is probably the last time I'm going to say about me as Pentalog, because the next year I'm going to be focused on Globant pitch, and I'm going to talk more about what I'm going to do as a Glober at Globant. In these regards, I'm going to focus more about France. So very, very excited to do that. And in these regards, also we have here someone as a guest today who comes from France. And one last thing before starting the session is why we are doing the CTO Talk. So we are doing the CTO Talk because along all these years of serving customers, we've learned that we needed an idealistic view about technology leadership, either CTO, Chief Information Officer, heads of development, and so forth. And we've structured that vision. We've shared that with everyone. There's currently a series of episodes, fundamentals for technology leadership, which is available on our site. Just search on pentalog.com for CTO, and you will find all these episodes. We want to stress that vision. So this is why we invite here to CTO Talks real people doing the job, engineering leaders, and we ask them the same set of questions. That's half of the success of the CTO Talk. So I have a unique set of questions. I'm repeating these questions from session to session, and the other half of questions comes from the audience. So yes, please do ask your questions, dear audience. There is a Q&A module here that you can use so that we can ask our guest things which weren't set up before the call. So that being said, Iman, please join the stage and tell us a few words about yourself and the company you work for.
Hey everyone, thank you, Cornel. Thank you for having me, first of all. It's very cool to be here. So my name is Iman. You introduced me briefly, so that's cool. Thank you for that. I worked in a company named Askia. It's a company that was acquired by Ipsos, so we're part of the Ipsos organization. My training is that I'm a software engineer. I started a few years ago, actually more than a few. At some point, so I was a developer. I was at some point, I think, even doing C++, or what I thought was C++, until I met actual C++ developers. And then I decided I wanted to do to be part of let's say more technical decision making, etc. So I first created my company, a mobile studio where we developed as contractors for other clients mobile application. It was our expertise was mostly around startups, so it was a super fun time. And one of my clients, by the way, was Askia. It was actually my first client in this company. And yeah, at some point, life changes and you have kids, and you cannot find a good balance between your personal life and your professional life when you have your own company, and it was becoming hard. So I decided to turn the page, leave that behind. And I looked into my contacts and I said, okay, who I really want to work with, and Askia was a no-brainer. So I decided to join them. Askia is a survey software company. What we do is that we build end-to-end survey solutions for market research agencies, and that's why Ipsos decided to buy Askia. And since then, we have this big opportunity of modernizing our stack, etc. And this was 3 years ago. I joined the company, I think, 4 years ago or something like this. But yeah, that's who I am. By the way, I'm the head of development at Askia, meaning that I'm doing a lot of things around the technology stack.
Let's start by that. So, head of development. What does it mean? What are the responsibilities for a head of development?
I wish I knew. No, but seriously, I think I have two missions. One of them is the day-to-day topics, helping the team, empowering them on various areas such as best practices, architecture, specifying non-functional requirements. Of course, I'm not the only one doing that. I'm being helped by other leaders, technical leaders within the company. But that would be like mission number one, being in a close contact with the team and making sure that we're going in the right direction. The other one is as you guess, a more strategical view of the technology adoption. How our technology could solve today's or future business cases, especially for Ipsos. Yeah, that I think that's me. I'm thinking if I forgot something, but I don't think so.
And from what you said, which parts are the hardest ones?
They both have their part of challenge. The challenge is not coming from the same for the same reasons. It's hard to decide which one is the hardest one. The day-to-day, as the team grows, can become very hard because you need to be present for everyone. You need to be available for everyone. And the other one, well, the strategical view, it has other type of challenges. We are in a modernization stream of development with Ipsos because Ipsos gave us the opportunity to modernize our roadmap. This is very exciting from a technology perspective, but very hard to combine business strategy and modernization, in my opinion. That was probably one of the biggest challenge.
Okay, combining modernization with the business ambitions.
Yes.
Okay. And when we talk about technology leaders in general, we always talk about this important aspect of being a key translator. Like you look at technology and you translate these technology aspects to in business terms or to whatever terms are required for that. Those who don't have experience, they can understand what this is about. And the other way around, from business opportunities, you translate that to technology. What can you tell us about the translator role you play more or less at Askia?
Yeah. So you're right. It's a two-way street. For the part where we need to translate technology to business, for Askia, it's pretty hard. That's the part where I was talking about the strategic vision, the strategic overview, etc. It's hard because you need to be able to understand what scalability or having a modern stack means in terms of business. Okay, they're not necessarily feature related, so you need to be able to extrapolate a bit. You need to be able to talk with people and explain that what the problem that you're trying to solve are not problems that they have right now, but problems that they might have tomorrow. Okay, and that's probably the hardest part. So I'm doing a bit of that. Again, I'm receiving help. The other way around, which is understanding what business means, and then being able to translate that in terms of technology, again, is harder and harder as the team grows because the translation is not enough. You need to translate and then you need to communicate. You need your team to be aware of what we're building. I have meetings every day where I have my leaders asking me like, why are we working on this again? And I'm like, this is a key, like a wake-up call for me to say, okay, I did not do a good job in doing that. So we are going hard on this at Askia. Like we try to solve this problem very hard. I think you need a framework to be able to solve this problem. You need something like OKRs where you actually set objectives for the team, but you also need people. You need manpower of people who are able to understand and translate. And I'm super glad to have that people. Like we have a brilliant head of product at Askia, a brilliant head of modernization, and they both work with me. And recently we just created a layer of engineering managers that also help in that area. But yeah, we're making progress. It's not perfect, but yeah, it's you know, the usual stuff. You're in the middle of business and technology. You need to be that translator that is able to work both ways. Sorry, I think the communication part with the team is key in that area. Like a translation is not enough, as I was saying.
Communication part is key. Do you have any, you know, particular advice, like something that didn't work well and now you know it doesn't never work well, or something that worked very well in these regards that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, as I was saying, use a framework. Use something that exists, that is an industry standard, something like OKRs, where you can actually clearly define what your objectives are in terms of technology, in terms of business, etc. Because my mistake is usually, you know, considering that I explained something and that the message is understood. Okay, so and then 3 months after you realize, well, we're going the wrong way. Like it's not what we wanted. So this is the part. And you need to have this framework that basically aligns everyone, and you need to have it as soon as possible. The mistake we did was to have it a bit late. So now we're, you know, running after the clock, but yeah, it's taking time to implement.
So can we understand from this that you are using OKRs?
Yes, we just started like a few months ago, and it's like it's super powerful. When at the end of an agile ceremony or at the end of a quarter, you can look back at your OKRs and be able to, you know, identify against what you delivered. Say, okay, we delivered like 50% of what we were saying that we were delivering this month, and then the next month we go to 80%, etc. That's invaluable. Like that's immediate feedback for business on one side, also super motivating, an extra motivation for the teams because they actually know what they're working on.
Can you say a few words about who reports to you today? Like in this organization, who reports to you?
So formally, everyone that is in the tech company, basically, except maybe a few or two cases, and that's a big issue. But the reality is that I have a lot of help of people who are actually playing the role of managers today in the company. So my head of product took the responsibility of all product owners. The head of SRE or modernization took the responsibility of everything that relates to DevOps. Now my engineering managers are splitting the different developers so that they can report to these guys. And I just have the engineering managers who I can work with. It doesn't mean that I'm disconnected from the team, but it means that this communication that was hard, I don't have to make sure that it's understood by 85%. I just need to make sure that the engineering managers understood it and then help them to, you know, pass the message to the developers and the technical team. So yeah, I would say that, I don't know, maybe in total I have between 10 and 20 person that actually rely on me on a day-to-day, but the rest are being taken care of by other persons that are way more talented than me in communication.
Between 10 and 20 people. Interesting. And how many people are you in total?
I think we're almost 100 now, including, so I would say I am 90, including the contractors and everyone we work with. We don't consider them to be external. We deal with them as if they were part of the company. So yeah, I would say around 90 something. Well,
Okay.
Ipsos is 22,000. We are a very small tech company within Ipsos.
Good. Let's talk about higher levels now, like executive leadership. How much time do you spend with the executives? How does it work? Any particular suggestion you have in this regards?
I spend a lot of time with the CEO of Askia. So for the story, I said Askia was one of my clients. I work very closely with both of the founders of Askia. One of them turns out to be the CEO, who is in Paris, Patrick, and the other one is the main brain behind everything that made Askia, basically the whole solution, the technical solution for the past 20 years. I joined the company for them because I enjoyed very much working with them. I understood their vision, and my onboarding actually happened during basically the due diligence of Ipsos, because when I joined, like 2 months later, Askia was being examined by Ipsos in order to understand if they were going to buy the company or not. And so I had the craziest onboarding ever, because I discovered with Ipsos what Askia was actually made of during that period, and was what I was actually going to work on. So it was pretty crazy. So on a day-to-day, I work very closely with these guys, and with Ipsos C-level or executives as well, because we're trying to build that strategy, because we're trying to understand or to translate what really business wants in terms of technology. So yeah, we're very, very close to them and have access. That's probably the most important part, is that the ability to being able to challengely open your CEO or the CEO of the company, or the person you work with that you report to, is like, it's a blessing. It's only works if you have a trusted relationship, and I think we do.
How does it work? I feel like many people ask, like, how do you say something against the executive officer, or something which is not exactly what the executive officer says?
Well, you need to be a nice guy. Like, you need to, you don't need to be to be rude or something. No, but yeah, I mean, it's working both way. I'm able to say whatever I want, but that goes also with the acceptance that they can tell me whatever they want. Like, I must be completely honest with them, but I also must accept, like, them being honest with me. So that usually helps. And yeah, the other thing is that you just tell them. Like, I don't, there's no secret. Like, people are tend to hold back, and I think you just need to tell them, because holding back usually backfires at some point. Everyone knows that, but it's this irrational fear. We don't want to, like, have the CTO being mad, etc. I'm not saying I'm always telling them everything. I hope they're not in this call. But sometimes yeah, it's it's like a band-aid. You need to just take it off very quickly, and the pain will be easier to hold.
Interesting. We have a question from the audience, so I'm going to. Could you tell us more about your technical stack and technologies that you use in your company?
Yes. So there is the before and the after. The before was a set of old, not necessarily bad. When I say old, it's not a bad thing in my mind. At least it's and I'll try to explain if we have the opportunity. But legacy is not necessarily bad in my mind. But we had a set of like C++ applications. Some of them were including MFC classes. For those who know what they are like the equivalent of the standard library in C++ today, that is dropped and not maintained by Microsoft anymore, but we still had them in production. We had a bunch of C# application running in a SaaS, etc. And mainly we were not in the cloud. We were on-prem, using a .NET framework, installing on the VM in physical data centers, etc. And since Ipsos, we completely moved to the cloud. We modernized our tech stack. We kept C#, but transformed everything to microservices, and adopted that core and the latest version of the framework, which are equivalent to core. We modernized our front ends. We got rid of the old C++. We still have C++, but for good reasons in some areas. But it's like a modern C++. And yeah, we're running in the cloud, so that's basically our stack.
I hope it answers your question, Asilbek. I hope I'm pronouncing this well enough. I also tried to take some notes here in the chat, so for people to, I don't know, copy them if they want. Let's go further. So, okay, executives. I have a harder question for you, Iman. Like, we always look at velocity and efficiency, efficacy with people doing the job, and that's perfectly fine. But we often tend to forget, or at least some people, many people tell us this. We tend to forget that efficiency should be also the highest level of the organizations. So when we say we limit the work in progress at the, I know, product backlog or sprint backlog, we should somehow limit the work in progress at the highest levels of the organization. So limit the number of decisions we're working on or things like this. What would you like to share with us about that?
Yeah, that's a problem. I think we all know, like especially those who are working in big companies. There is this inertia that comes with these companies where the things you need fast are taking long, but the things you need to deploy or to develop needs to be delivered fast. Okay, that's like that's the rule. Okay, otherwise you just work in a startup and you have other type of problems, but at least this problem is being solved easier in an easier fashion. So for big companies like Ipsos, yeah, what helps, in my opinion, is not that much to try to limit, because we tried everything. With Stefan, I remember like us writing documents years ago where we had this funnel diagram where we were trying to explain, like, if you put everything, like, there is a bottleneck, we cannot deliver everything. At the end of the day, Stefan being my sorry, I use his name. He's my head of SRE. So the other guy, my partner in crime in everything that relates to modernization. Sorry, I'm super cold here. Huh? I put myself in a different room. That's why I'm, So what was I saying? Yes. What works, I think, is to acknowledge that it's not a matter of explaining like a process that we need to work with, but it's a matter of making everyone understand that agility is a culture. Okay, like it's a cultural thing. Okay. Everyone seems to say, yeah, I have my colleagues who are in the call and propose to me to bring my coat, to not be cold anymore. Yeah, they're understanding that agility is a cultural thing and not just a framework. Like, people tend to say we are an agile company because we're doing Scrum, and that's if your C-level starts saying that, for me it's a sign that yeah, you're missing something. Scrum is not defining agile. It's a tool that goes with agility, and I'm wondering how many C-level understands what the agile culture really is about. What are the values around agility? I don't remember. There was a very nice article about it from one of the guys of the manifesto who was actually saying this, and this article blew my mind. I will share it if I remember it again. But at Ipsos, we made we worked on this. Okay, so we had an agile coach at some point. I think a good advice would be to have a permanent agile coach if possible, or at least to have a contractor who can do that. But our C-levels were open to discussions, and we managed to move away from waterfallish roadmaps and like all the requests coming at the same time. Start using modern roadmaps. Start measuring progress based on what we actually deliver and what value we bring to the customer, rather than to just, did you manage to reach a certain point in an Excel sheet? Okay, this didn't make any sense. So yeah, I would say the agile coach is super important, and the agile coach needs to also speak with C-level. It should not just speak with the development team. There is a very good chance that the development team already knows what agile is about. They were born with it somehow. For some of them, not me. For some of them, they were born with it. They know it by heart. They know the values. It's always good to remind them. But yeah, it's better to be able to propagate that to the higher instances of an organization as well.
Very interesting. I added a comment here in the chat because I had it at hand. People who criticize agility, we index them. Of course, it's important to look at these critics so that we ensure that we are doing things right. So for those who want to know more, I put some resources there. We still promote agility, of course, but I think that was interesting. Now, I think there are many things that were interesting in what you said about it, but I'll just have to take a short break to address two questions from the audience, okay?
Yep.
So one from Alexandru: what decisions have you took since the Ipsos acquisition that would have been taken differently before?
That's an interesting one. So what would have well, everything that relates to finance, I think is the way to answer to this. But you know, we were a small company, a successful company, but that couldn't like migrate all the workloads that we have, for example, to the cloud. Okay, so we needed help there. We needed a vision that we helped build, but we also needed money. Okay, so I think that we will have taken a lot of like in the middle kind of decisions, like decisions when you need to have to make compromises when you don't have the money. And if you don't build it from scratch, okay, because startups usually, for example, I was in a lot of them, they don't do compromises, but because they're building it from scratch, it's cheaper to build the right way from scratch. But when you arrive in a company that has 20 years of legacy code, again, some of them very good, some of them that you need to change, well, then you have money problems. And this is where, again, trying to describe that for business is hard, but we managed to do it. So we were sponsored to do that.
Okay, Alexandru, I hope this answers your question. And so that's very interesting. But what, like, this doesn't work, okay? But what would you do, like, now, concretely, if you'd have to start again? What precisely you would put in the, I don't know, in the M&A agreement or something, something different?
I would try to come up with a way that Agile is taking into consideration right from the beginning. Okay, I don't know how that would translate into a contract or anything, but these Agile discussions that I said we had, even internally Ipsos, etc., internally at Ipsos, yeah, I would start by making sure that we have those requirements before we actually start writing a single line of code. The other thing would be to maybe not open all the doors at the same time. From a business perspective, the mistake we did was when we started saying yes to everything because we were excited and we were, I would say, young and stupid, but that's not true. But you know, we would just accept all workloads and say yes, it's possible for us to do it, etc. And we just realized that we could very quickly be overwhelmed by it. So I would probably, you know, try to, as you said, maybe I wasn't agreeing with it, but maybe I changed my mind in 5 minutes, which is maybe we would have limited a bit the number of business cases that we would have looked at back then, just to be able to focus on some of them.
Thank you for adding this, Alexandra. I hope you were served. And by the way, sorry for this. I was putting the comments in the chat for only the four panelists, not for everyone to see. So I copy pasted that back. I hope it's useful for the audience. So I'm going to the next question. Where do you think you have more influence in your current position and why?
Where do I think I have more influence in my current position? I think I'm seen as a person who has a good technical culture. That can, I think, at least I hope by my colleagues, maybe they are in the call and they say no, that's not true. But yeah, I would say like understanding or trying to bring a bit of culture, a technical culture, trying to evangelize like how other industries work, etc. I think that would be my strongest points. And then I'm a coward. I don't implement myself, so I usually pass it to someone else to implement. But I try to open some eyes. Again, I'm not alone in that. Maybe today I'm too much of a getting involved into day-to-day, as I was saying in the early introduction. Maybe a good thing for me would be to take a step back, like assume this role of cultural change bringer, and maybe that will also make the communication easier with everyone. But yeah, I think that's where I stand today.
Okay. Is there something you can share with us, like going forth and back, like from very operational today and high level tomorrow, like in these regards? How do you switch between these perspectives or involvement? You're involved type.
It's hard to switch. It's super hard to switch, but yeah, you need to do it because I'm also super enthusiastic about technology. So I like also being involved. Like it's feel like
You
I'm
need to be there.
yes. I remember we had an audit at some point, and they asked us like what type of, like, when they saw every single person reporting to me in the organization diagram, they asked like, what type of person are you? Are you the one that likes to be in the center of everything, or do you want to delegate? And I lied. I say I like to delegate, but I think that the actual thing is that I feel important, in being in the center where people need you. But we know it's not working. Okay, we know it's the worst scenario possible, because you create a bottleneck in the company, and people tend to say that your software mimics your organization architecture. So if you have a bottleneck, you will have issues with your architecture and with the decision making and with what you deploy as well. But I'll give you an example. Like I can be in a day-to-day call about what type of RabbitMQ message we should send between two services, and the day after, or even during the afternoon, I'm in a call talking about how we could make sure that our tech strategy follows our customers' strategy, and how we can make sure that they can adopt our services. So this is the type of discussion I'm having on a day-to-day basis. So it requires a bit of a schizophrenia, I guess.
Okay, schizophrenia, interesting. Okay, I hope we've answered to the questions, and let's. How do you tackle projects that are behind schedule, if any?
Yes, of course, we have many of them.
You have?
Who doesn't? But well, you reduce the scope. Okay, like I never change. I don't like changing dates. I like rediscussing scope. I like to deploy what brings value, and I don't like plannings. No one does, I think. Anyone who likes planning is lying, or is forced to like planning. But yeah, I don't like plannings. I prefer to deliver value. When something is in production, we actually see how it works, etc. Usually people who are complaining about a project that's late, usually they back off and they realize how good the software is, etc. If you did a good job, of course. How I do when we are late? Well, yeah, we reduce the scope. We still deliver.
How does your head of products react? Like,
Oh, she's in. She's in. She's in with it. That's the cultural thing I was talking about. Like, you recruit only people that fit in a certain culture. When you try to build a shift in culture, you have two ways of doing it, in my opinion. You can first go the easy road, which is recruit people that only fit in that culture. That's super good. But when you're like me and you land in a company that already has employees, you also need to work on the existing employees. And our head of product is someone that we recruited, that joined the company. We actually didn't recruit her. She joined it because we had a good opportunity with Ipsos. She came from Ipsos internally, Carmen, to name her, and she understood agility like in a heartbeat, and understanding that yes, you have milestones, yes, you have deadlines, but milestones are here to help you solve a problem, not to fill in a spreadsheet. That was super important. And what actually matters is what you deliver. If you're solving problems, if you're driven by user satisfaction, if you're driven by customer satisfaction, that's better than every milestone that you could actually reach. I know it sounds like a bit like a guru, etc., but it's really what Agile is about, I think.
you somehow highlight something very interesting in terms of synergies, like you're a small tech company in a big group, but however, in a sense, you said just you had this opportunity from the group to get someone on board who
Yeah.
has an amazing fit with you.
Yes, that was a super good chance. So she didn't start as a head of product. She started as a product owner, but her knowledge of market research, her knowledge of the team, her understanding of what agility is, as I was saying, in a heartbeat, like made her like go up, and we realized that we needed her, and she knew Ipsos very well. So it helping like and she's a nice person, of course, but yeah, everything is there.
Good. Thanks for this. I will switch to more like 360 degrees kind of questions.
Yep.
360 degrees technology-wise related. So because you said market research, so your product owner knows market research, that's your business, that's
Yes.
the business you're in. What do you say about this quote? Technology strategy is business strategy. What's your opinion about it?
Well, for us, for Askia, within Ipsos, that's 100% truth. Like our business strategy, if you look at Askia, regardless of Ipsos, our business strategy is our technology strategy. Like our service is our technology, is our service, is our product. Okay, what we deliver is what we are asked to deliver as a company. So yeah, I would like completely recognize myself into this. I don't know if that answers your questions, but
It's perfect, perfect. Let me jump to another one related to this. So not everyone has a security officer, and security is such a big field on its own. So how does it work for you?
so we have a security officer now. We
Now,
yes, now we recruited one a few months ago, and we're very happy about it. So yeah, but if I can give an advice in there, like you need to recruit a security officer. Like people tend to consider that it's a non-mandatory position, especially startups. I don't buy it. I totally disagree with that.
here,
When when
dear
you
audience, recruit a security officer.
when you have one, you just realize why you needed one. But that's the key point, is that before you have one, you don't know you need one. So that's why nobody recruits like in the first place a security officer. They consider it like nice to have in the crew.
And what happened before having the security officers, or what can people do who are in smaller teams, from your point of view?
Um, they can adopt a DevSecOps maybe approach, and basically a good security officer would recommend that, I believe. But they could go toward a more shift to the left type of security, which is like simple decisions, simple evangelization, make sure that everyone knows OWASP top 10, make sure everyone knows what the static code analysis is doing, install SonarQube and start using it in your code. It's super easy to do. Yeah, that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, like it's a job. It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job. Okay. And you've said DevSecOps, like shifting left security. And we've done QA shift left. We've done product. We put it in the team in the same time, right?
Yeah.
We put ops shift left.
Yeah.
Security shift left.
Yeah, and now we're doing human shift left with AI. Right?
I wasn't expecting that.
Yes.
Didn't see that coming.
Sorry about it.
There needs to be a limit in how much shift left we can do. Like we have data ops right now. How much shift left do you think we can still squeeze in a team? Or what's your opinion about the future of this kind of approaches with legal lefts, all this?
Yeah. I think so. Again, like we are in a bar, okay, and we're drunk, and that's why I'm giving my opinion so openly. I think there's no limit. Like anything that needs to be declarative, anything that needs to be completely wipeable and recreatable can be done as code. Like code is the law. So yeah, I don't see any limit into that. I'm trying to find like counter arguments, but yeah, like things that we need to repeat, things that we need to stay stateless, things that we need to be able to reproduce in a heartbeat, things that we are doing, I don't know, things that requires a lot of person to work on before they get done. These type of things are like very good candidate to be done as code, but don't reinvent the wheel. Don't go and start doing I don't know, but if you look at what other startups are doing now, you have HR as core and as an admin. With the blockchain, you also have contracts that are part of the blockchains and are considered to be contracts or legal as code. You have rental houses, etc., that are part of the blockchain. So yeah, I mean, it's endless.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. Let me go to a question from the audience. Breaking again my flow, but that's good. Keep them coming. For someone called Anonymous, how is the culture documented? How do you present it to the team?
We don't. It's one of the thing we don't document the culture. We evaluate it during like a recruitment, and then we maintain it in a very informal fashion. But no, we don't have a green book of culture, at least within Askia. But so we don't. Maybe that's something that we need to put in place. I never felt the need of doing that. I was doing that in my company. You know, I arrived at Askia. There was already a very strong culture that was held by the people who were there and also by the founders. And yeah, that's the type of culture we didn't need to document it. Like I don't even know how to document that type of culture.
Okay. I hope that helped. Another question for I'm gonna stop spelling the names. Sorry, but I feel I'm so bad at it. So, would you agree that for Agile to work well, some decentralization is required? What are the biggest challenges you are facing when you try to decentralize decision making? Easy question. Like we can stay 2 days.
Yeah. I'm not sure I would like a link agility and central decision making in like I don't see the immediate link between those. For me, distributed decision making is possible, but again, um, uh, your organization is following your architecture. It's possible if what you deliver is actually distributed, if what you deliver is actually decoupled. I'm going to give you examples. If you have two teams working together in two different services and they are super tightly coupled, decision making needs to be central. You need to deploy them probably at the same time. You need to have the product owners working at the same time. You need to synchronize developers to work at the same time if you don't want to deliver the end-to-end feature. If you decouple those in some way, well, decision making becomes easier or becomes at least distributed. Some people don't like it. Okay. Again, I said I wanted to be in the center of everything, so that's a bit hypocrite for me to say I like the distributed decision making. But yeah, you can then decide that one service is going live before because it's decoupled from the other one. The product owner is free to do anything he wants, and the dev team is autonomous. So for me, it's not related to the way you're doing agile. It's related to the way you're organizing your architecture and what you deliver.
I think you're touching something very, very powerful there, Iman, because there is a body of knowledge of diffusion of innovation, and we always say that technology is never just technology. You can have the best technology, it will not work, it will not be adopted, and you can have the worst technology, it can be adopted, because there should be social changes when we talk about technology. So it's more social than this, and I think you nail it in a way. In a sense, decision making, it's if you want to build a monolith, working on it and things like this. Good luck on decentralizing that.
Yeah.
Good. I hope it helped. I'm getting back to my questions. What is leadership at Askia? How do you define it? In a sense, like, how does it look like?
That's different. Okay, so you're not looking for an objective definition, but okay. So it's funny because I discussed like a few months ago, maybe it was last year, I don't remember, with someone from Askia in a bar, half drunk. Again, you're gonna think I'm always drunk. That's not the case. But we were discussing about like what was I doing wrong? Like, I was receiving feedback for free, and super cool. And that person told to me, well, I think you need to be available for others at all time. Like not being offline in Slack or Teams during work hours, not being able to focus on something that I really wanted to be able to focus. And it sounded like super counterintuitive to me. Like, I hated it. Like I had a strong reaction, like, what the heck? This means I'm basically a slave. I'm a slave of others, like asking me questions every day long. Like my Teams is going to be a Christmas tree. I'm not going to be able to write a single line of, not even documentation. I'm not even talking about code. But at the end of the day, like I started doing that because, I didn't want the person to be right. So I started doing that. And it turned out like, yeah, it helped. So I would say, like today at Askia, leadership means being available somehow, like being there, whatever the question, etc. Not always saying like, this is not my job, you can ask someone else. At some point, you'll have to do that because you're going too big. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's probably one of the worst practices ever in terms of management. But yeah, that's how it's defined today.
Do you think like this is enough, or you are working on adding something to it, or is that the unique ingredient?
No, of course not. You cannot not know anything about technology if you want to be a technology leader.
Okay.
So you need to be credible.
Credible.
Yes,
Okay.
and credible leads to trust, and trust leads you to be able to lead. So yeah, I would say you need to step up. You need to step up in what you know. I from time to time, I talk to you about this cultural thing that I'm trying to bring, like what type of technology other companies are using, etc. Sometimes I just drop a word and I immediately regret it, because then you need to know what you're talking about. And so I say, well, this is a like just an idea. We need to learn it. We need to look at it. But the reality is that I probably read an article about it and I just got too excited. And that's not good leadership. It's good leadership. It's about actually knowing what you're talking about. Or if you want a hint at some technology that you don't know, you need to make sure that it's understood as such. You need to make sure that people don't take it for granted and say, well, okay, we're going to adopt Istio. So yeah,
That's the easiest thing to adapt quickly.
Yes. Yeah, don't say that. But yes.
Before the lines, between the lines, what I also feel like you're saying, part of your leadership is also to admit when you are wrong.
Yes.
And that also somehow helps the confidence and eventually the trust.
Yes,
Good.
except when I'm speaking with Dimitri. I'm hoping he's in the call. I never want to admit that I'm wrong in front of him.
Okay. And anyway, we know that in terms of leadership, that comes also with some activities that we see in these roles. Some of them are very human resources related, some of them like skills, career path, recruitment, onboarding of people. How much of that do you delegate? How much of that is key for you and mandatory for you to do it alone, yourself? How do you co-share these activities?
So if we continue, people are going to start that I suck at everything, but I'm not good at people management neither. No, to be honest, I don't have as much time as I would like in it. I do the recruitment myself. Sometimes I try to delegate. Now it's easier to delegate because we have already a lot of people in the company, a lot of experts that can go and help. So it's easier. I tried to build a layer of engineering manager that will help also in the operational side of things, like doing the one-on-ones, doing the perf reviews based on the objectives, etc. But yeah, in the past, I was trying to do everything myself, and it wasn't working great because the team was scaling, the management wasn't. So yeah.
Very interesting. So in a sense, again, something else that you felt like it wasn't working very well. Now you feel things can be delegated with ease, or at least it's easier for you. You're building this layer of engineering managers, helping you doing a better job on onboarding. And this sounds pretty useful, I hope, dear audience. So if you'll be in Iman's skin in the future, remember there are limited number of things that we can do. So you need to delegate. And thanks for sharing that, Iman.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, we still have 9 minutes. So that would be around 2 questions from me. And I will allow you to finish the session with an advice for the audience, something that unique you want to share with them. And that this is how we are going to end.
So I have 9 minutes to think about something, right?
Yes. And I also see my colleagues writing in the chat that there is a quiz. Please, it can help us later to improve these sessions. Your feedback is welcomed. Okay, what can you share? What can you share about the engineering managers? What is their core mission?
It's very hard to define it actually, because I started with the wrong, let's say, requirement. I started the only requirement, as I was saying before, was I need people to help me. Okay, and I didn't think that through. What I think they are supposed to be doing is being like a facilitator in a lot of things, at least when it comes to technical decisions, and being the master in ceremony when it comes to people management, like being able to talk with the developers, decide how the developers should be working, help them improve, empower them, bring them confidence, show that they are trusting them, or of course escalate problems, etc. But they have these 2 hats for me. They have these hats of taking care of the people that are reporting to them, and at the other side, helping, for example, product owners on the how we should implement things. Where usually product owners are more focused on the what. There is 2 core entities in a company, in my opinion, that should help them understand the how, which is UX and engineering management or technical leadership. And engineering managers are representing that technical leadership. So I would say that these are their 2 hats, basically.
Okay. And they are full-time?
Yes.
And how many?
I have 3, and Stefan, who is the head of modernization, again, he's joining also our sessions. We have a bi-weekly session where we discuss different topics. It's hard to steer because we're in the very early process of having that team, and usually when I ask what we need to discuss, people come with the latest idea that was discussed, and the meeting like discusses for 1 hour and 1 hour of debate. So I still need to find a framework in making sure that decisions are being made and then they are shared. But yeah.
It sounds very promising.
Yes.
Let me ask you something about, because you've said it more than once, and I feel like availability for people. So that's how you started, and in a sense, so most of the surveys, and it doesn't matter the source, somehow is criticizing the fact that the leaders are not that available for them.
Yes.
So in a sense, you are doing, from what you're saying, maybe a bit more than happens in most of the companies. Do you
Yes.
feel like this is something that people really appreciated, and it's a because it seems to be who wouldn't want to work with, I know, leaders who are available, because that's
Well, I think it if you want to solve that problem, so I agree it's a complete anti-pattern. As I was saying earlier, I think it's a super bad practice. I would say it's an anti-pattern. You don't want to rely on a single point of failure in any way of working. If tomorrow I die, well, they have no one. Okay, so you don't want to rely on that type of organization. But
meanwhile people need that.
yes, but they need it, and that's where I was heading. They need it because you didn't put in place the right layer of distributed communication yet. So that's what I'm trying to solve now with my engineering managers, with my product owners, and my head of modernization and Carmen, etc., head of product. We're trying to smooth that communication as much as possible to basically be able to erase the gap between business and implementation teams, or between executives and implementation teams, so that you don't rely on a single point of failure. Sometimes it's Stefan who is a single point of failure because we're in the middle of deployment. And in the deployment, I'm usually a bit at ease because everyone is focused in the deployment phase. But Stefan becomes a sudden bottleneck. So distributed communication is solving things. But again, as I was saying before, distributed decision-making communication is only possible if your architecture is distributed. So we need to solve the first problem in order for the chain to be solved by itself.
Yes, very interesting, very interesting. And one last question before letting you finishing the session. One thing you feel like the team doesn't feel like you are doing it enough, and one thing where you feel like the team is saying you are doing it very well.
So it's obvious. The team would say that I'm not doing enough, like one-to-one. Okay, I'm doing it with very, very few people, and because I'm in so many meetings, sometimes I have to drop some of them and push them back to the next week. So that would be like the first thing that I would hear, probably, in the things that I'm not doing right. I don't know what they would say about me doing well, and that's not false modesty. I think they would either say that, again, I'm available. I have a good knowledge, I think, of the product we're trying to deliver, even the teams I didn't work on. So I think that people also, turn to me for that reason, which is good for my ego, not good for distribution. But yeah, I would say that that's the part that people would rely on me the most.
Great. Iman, floor is yours. Share with the audience something that you think, only one thing, if there would be one thing the audience can get from this session, what is that? Something which is useful for them as a takeaway to improve. People who want to become either head of development, CTOs, engineering managers, technology leaders. What do you recommend them?
Decide if you really want to become a people manager as well. Like that's for me, like the key aspect. Like I understanding that the job has the two hats was, I think it's crucial. Like if you just think yourself as a technical leader, you don't understand what is your day-to-day work. So think about the fact that other people will rely on you, and that's not just in a PowerPoint or in an Excel document.
Thank you, Iman. So it's not just technology, it's people, and we need to do both. Great, Iman. Thank you for sharing this.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, with pleasure. I'm looking forward, maybe we do this again in 1 year so that we see what changed. Thanks for sharing this.
Cool. No problem.
Dear audience, see you to the next session. Bye.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.